Matthew, where do I enter the Matthew? Matthew, are you there?
morning and welcome to the Rawls College of Business Center for Sales and Customer Relationship Excellence webinar, Women in Sales Leadership, Transformers and Trailblazers, featuring Ali Carr, founder and CEO of ATX Promos. We now welcome Dr. Atul Parvatiyar, Director of the Center for Sales and Customer Relationship Excellence.
Good morning. Thank you very much for joining this morning. And the God's voice you just heard was none other than my esteemed colleague and one of the key persons instrumental in this webinar, that is Julie Das. She is our Senior Director for External Relationships, and she has been instrumental in kind of bringing in all the people together. So thank you very much. And I would also like to say the man behind the scene that you would see is Matthew Winfrey. Matthew is the one who is managing everything behind the scene. So you see the man with all the computer screens and everything else. So he is the man with the technology there. So welcome on behalf of the Center for Sales and Customer Relationship Excellence at the Rawls College of Business. We are delighted that you're here today for this inaugural webinar on women in sales leadership, transformers and trailblazers. As we celebrate the success of women in sales leadership as well as business leadership, it is important that we are able to spotlight some of those people who have, through their transformative activities, made a major difference. So we want to learn from them, learn their best practices, learn the unique approaches, and this webinar series is in that direction. So today we will have one of those successful business leaders who have not only been successful in her career, but she's also been successful in creatively transforming the sales organization sales organization and sales processes for her organization. Before I introduce our featured speaker today, let me also mention a couple of things on behalf of the center, that the center is very pleased to create these learning forums because this is in the direction of creating new knowledge as well as documenting the best practices that we can learn from some of the leaders. In addition to the Women in Sales Leadership series, we'll also have other series that we intend to launch pretty soon, and we will keep you informed about it. Two of the areas is going to be in the area of international sales and global customer relationship. And the second one is also going to be in sales excellence overall. But today, our focus is on women in sales leadership. And these women who are in sales leadership are really those who are role models for us and for many, many people, both in organizations as well as those who are individuals, for them to consider as to what kind of a career path they can foresee for themselves. As we make progress towards gender equality, we also begin to learn that there are many new approaches that women are adopting that may be of great use to everybody to learn from. And before I introduce the speaker today, let me also welcome today our own leader, transformer, and trailblazer, Dean Margaret Williams. Dean Williams, as you all know, is a professor of management, and she has been our dean for now over 3 years. And during her tenure, she has led the college towards many successes and continues to lead us in adopting many transformative processes. This initiative on creating a forum to discuss women in sales leadership is an idea encouraged and blessed by her. So let me request Dean Williams to please welcome you all and give her inaugural address. Dean Margaret Williams.
Thank you, Atul. I appreciate the opportunity to welcome everyone on behalf of the college to the Women in Sales Leadership Seminar or webinar. I want to thank Atul and his team, and also thank our keynote speaker, Ali Carr of ATX Promos, for joining us today. Ali, this is one of those times where I'm really sorry that we have to do this virtually, and I don't get to meet you in person, but we're so glad you're joining us today. I also wanted to take a few minutes to talk about why this topic is so important. Why do we talk about women in sales leadership, or why do we talk about women in leadership in general? Since 1980, I actually just looked this number up. Since 1980, which was the year I graduated from college, women have outnumbered men in college enrollment. And this year, 56.5% of the students in our colleges and universities are women. Despite this number, women make up only 34% of the students in roles. And this number has barely budged in the last 10 years. In 2010, it was 32%. So why does this matter? I think this matters because we're talking about the pipeline of women who are heading into business. I know there are a lot of different ways to end up in business, but certainly one of the most important ways would be women who are earning undergraduate degrees in business. And this, to me, it's important to me, is I think we need women in business. We need the skills, we need the perspectives, we need the talents that women bring. There's plenty of research to show that whether it be business, government, education, higher education, when women are involved in leadership positions, the issues that are addressed within that organization change. The perspectives change for the better, I should add. So to me, it's very important that we encourage women to go into business. It's also the case that business is a flexible and very rewarding career. I attended a conference last week where one of the topics was the 50-year career. We didn't used to think of a career as being 50 years long. It is often these days, and a business background is a great way to prepare yourself for that 50-year career. So I know I'm preaching to the choir. That's an old-fashioned term, but it means today probably most of our participants are women who are business majors. So I want to encourage you to stick with it, and also to encourage your friends, your female friends, your relatives, your family members, your little sisters, your cousins, your nieces, to consider studying business, because I think business will be better off the more women we can bring into the field. So it's important for us to improve our pipeline. We also need to improve women's progress when they do enter business. So women make up 23% of executive leadership in North America. That, of course, is better than it has been in the past, but it's interesting, we lag behind all other geographic regions except Asia Pacific. So there are more women in executive positions in Eastern Europe, in Africa, and Latin America than there are in North America. So it's clear we have work to do. We're making progress. Female CEOs of Fortune 500 companies are at a record high. If you want to just take a moment to guess, it's 37 out of 500, which is 7%. So we have so much more work to do to encourage women to enter business and to support women to be at the very top of the business field. So this is, Allie, why I think it's so important that you're here with us today. I'm so glad you can join us to talk about your path, as well as your experience leading your own company, ATX Promos. And Allie, you really demonstrate to all of us that a woman's place is at the top. So we're so glad to have you here today. So Atul, thank you so much for giving me a few minutes to welcome folks.
Thank you very much, Jill Williams. You have really laid out the scenario, and I would like to add to that to say that in addition to the skills, perspectives, and talents and issues that women bring in, there are a lot of things that we can learn from. Am I audible? Just quick check. We can learn from women who have been those who have nurtured customer relationships quite well. They've also brought in a perspective of creativity in the sales process. So as women succeed in leadership, it's not only a matter to celebrate the women's success, but it's also for men to learn new approaches, new ways of doing things. that probably we have not been as used to doing it. And as more and more women take up executive positions, it probably is going to be a new way of doing things for many people. And I think it is important that we are able to document all that from a knowledge perspective. And that's our intent, that these webinars and the series of webinars would lead us towards creating a knowledge forum for where we can discuss best practices, we can discuss new ideas. So to kick off all this, as I said, we have a featured speaker today, Ali Carr, Miss Ali Carr. And Ali, by the way, is the founder president of ATX Promos. In a very short span of just about a decade or so, Ali has been able to have remarkable success with her business. She has, backing with her education in University of South Florida in marketing communication, she started a strategic branding company that engages in marketing campaigns and promotional product advertising. And her business, in a short span of time, has won several awards. She has been ranked on Tampa Bay's Business Journal Fast 50. She has been a finalist for the Small Business of the Year by Greater Tampa Chamber, and finalist also for Best CEOs of Austin Business Journal in 2019. And she's a graduate of Leadership Austin in 2016 and serves on the marketing committee. Ali is also on the committee for Austin Young Chambers Leadership Services. But in addition to all that, she's also a fun-loving person. In her free time, she enjoys being outdoors with the dog. She does horseback riding, hiking, and enjoying live music. So she has got both the business side as well as the fun side of it.
Yes.
So today we will have Ali in conversation. We deliberately chose a format where instead of she just going to give a presentation, she's going to be in conversation with two of my colleagues who are themselves trailblazers, as I call them. That is Dr. Faizan Irani Williams and Dr. Alejandra Marin. They would be moderating the discussion and be in conversation with Ali. The way in which we're going to do it is Dr. Faizan Williams will be in the initial 45 minutes of conversation with Ali with a set of questions that she's going to throw it to her. And then subsequently, while she's doing that, Dr. Marin is going to be monitoring all the questions that is coming in from the audience. And then she'll pick up some of the key questions and then she'll pose the questions on your behalf to Ali to get her perspective on this. So to kick off all this, I'm delighted that all of you have joined in today. And Ali, I'm going to kick off by by requesting you to start speaking about, or maybe begin to say something about your organization and your journey, and then I hand it over to Faizan from there onwards. Ali.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. I'm very excited to be here. Today, I am going to share with you parts of my journey. Questions are open. Feel free to ask whatever. I'm really looking forward to sharing my experiences with you. I also brought a few of my most creative ideas and promotional products. So if anybody's interested in how to elevate themselves, or if they're looking for ideas or creativity, I'm also happy to share that with you as well. So thank you all for having me. I'm very excited to be here. Oh, and also I did put together a little slide. So if you do want to show, I know we do have a slide. So here are some of the things that we've done. Actually, if you look on the bottom middle photo, CEO, you have a chapter at your school for the Collegiate Entrepreneur Organization. And we happen to be one of the main providers of, we are the sole provider for the merchandise. But this is a photo of just some of the promotional products that we have, some of the ideas or different things that we provide. And then the team also asked me to supply a timeline with some milestones. So if we flip to the next slide, these are some of the key moments, and I'll really share that gap between, I have a sister company, Alley Specialties, that I started in Tampa, Florida. And then in 2017, I opened up ATX Promos. So we have two brands under that I am that I own and that I run. But I'll share some of the timelines, our milestones, a little bit of gaps, and I'm really looking forward to it. So I'll open it up for questions at this time.
Thank you, Allie. And congratulations on achieving so much in so short a time. You know, there's a lot of research and information out there that focuses on the barriers to women's ascent into leadership, you know, especially in fields like sales. But while we acknowledge those barriers, that is not what we want to focus on in this webinar series. We want to focus on and celebrate the women who have succeeded despite it all. And from you, we want to learn how you did it. You who have been a transformer and trailblazer in your rise to leadership. So first and foremost, you have been an award-winning entrepreneur for the last 14 years. To what extent is sales a part of your entrepreneur role?
So everybody at ATX Promos and Ally Specialties has a defined role. Our account managers are simply managing the accounts. The bookkeeper is focusing on the bookkeeping. As far as sales and marketing go, I am the sales and marketing of the company. So I am out pre-COVID. I was out scheduling meetings with clients. I'm going over ideas, creativity. I'm business development. I'm the one who's in the community. I'll share more about how I've gotten more and more entrenched in the community, both in Tampa Bay as well as Austin and the Texas market as well. So as far as sales and marketing go, that's me. I am doing the sales and marketing for the.
So you do it all.
Yeah. You know, when you have a really, really great team, it helps. Everybody is a master of their own, their own job and their own position. So it really does help. And yes, of course, in addition to sales and marketing, I oversee the operations of the entire business. So.
Awesome. So how would you describe your leadership journey so far?
So my leadership journey has been ever evolving. I'm always learning and I'm always growing. There have been post-graduation jobs and mentors that I'd like to, share more in depth with that have really helped elevate and position me to be successful. So in these journeys, it's never done alone. It really isn't. I mean, I have had so much support, and it's really helped me to flourish and grow and learn. And every day I'm a forever student. I am always learning and growing.
Well, that's fantastic. Would you talk a little bit about those mentors that you've had along the way?
Yes, absolutely. So post-graduation, I coordinated corporate golf outings at a PGA tour in the at a PGA resort in the Tampa Bay area. So I really got my experience with community relations, making sure we got surveys at the end of every single golf group. And my main goal was to make sure I got 100% and that everybody left happy. So I learned to, to service accounts and when things were going great, but when there were situations where somebody was not happy, I really learned in that business how to deal with it head on, that you can't just squirm and hide and just hope that they forget. You really have to face those things head on. You have to make it better. And something as simple as an amenity basket sent to their room if they had a light check-in and they were just raving. The attention to detail was there. They really came around. And so that job really gave me the experience that I needed as far as community relations goes. When I had decided to leave that job, I was in a sales job for about a year before I started my own business. And I had a national sales manager. Her name is Daya. She's fantastic. And she came to work with me. She would just travel and work with the sales reps. I really, really got a knack for cold calling and telemarketing under her leadership. I'll never forget, the first week she came and I was going to spend a couple of days with her. And we went to a business park. And she said, we're going to learn how to cold call. We're going to walk into businesses and we're going to see who the HR manager is. And we're going to ask, if we could speak to them. And so I went along with it. she did the first one. She went in and she said, I'm Daya. I was wondering if I could speak to the HR manager. And then the next one, she said to me, she said, now it's your turn. So in sheer panic, I told her, I said, no, I'm not ready. I need at least 30 days to practice and rehearse it. Like, there's no way I could do this. I don't feel comfortable. And she looked at me and she said, you're as ready today as you will be in 30 days, because we have to take those risks. It's not going to be any easier the first time you make your first cold call. So I went in, and I felt such a sense of pride after I had made that cold call that I actually utilized that with anybody that joined our team. And we'll talk about different ways of, building relationships and growing sales. And while I think there are better ways in sales, I do think it's important to learn how to telemarket, make those cold calls, because we've gotten clients through, Match.com was a cold call email. We got some orders from them and Bright House. So it is beneficial. It's something that you should learn. And I think you just have to go for it. You really have to go for it. Nobody feels truly prepared. After I had moved on from that job, while I loved sales, I knew that whatever I was selling, I had to be very, very passionate about if I was going to be successful. So no hard feelings, but it wasn't the right industry for me. Ultimately, I left and I had started my own business at this point. Fairly into maybe a couple months into 6 months into starting my own business, I met a woman at a nail salon, and she was fantastic. She happened to be the first lady at the other UT, the University of Tampa. And we talked and we just hit it off. And we would get together regularly for lunch, and she would mentor me. She suggested that I join the board at the university. And I did, and I took a leadership role, and I started to network. And she thought I would be a great candidate for Leadership Tampa Bay. So I will say that by meeting her and that relationship, she really changed the trajectory of my path, because she taught me first of all, by believing in me, second, by recommending me for this great leadership program. She taught me that business is all about passion, forging relationships, community, and just being authentic. So ultimately, I was, through mentorship, I was being put on a very, very great path, and I'm very grateful for that.
What is most interesting to me in everything you've said here, that the two people that you mentioned that were primary in your leadership journey were both women.
Yes. It's funny that you mentioned that too, because it really didn't even dawn on me until, and there have been men as well who have been helpful and supportive, but absolutely, when it comes to, molding leaders and seeing something in somebody that, that they see something in you and they want to see you succeed, it has been women who have really contributed to my journey.
Awesome. Go women, right? So as you reflect on your career arc, what are the main inflection points that you see?
Yeah, so I would say, again, the mentors that I've met along the way, and then a lot of it is just, you cannot be prepared for entrepreneurship. It's ups and downs and ups and downs. And, there are times where we're having a great year and everything's going so well. And then somebody resigns, and then it feels like, oh, this is a low, this is a down point for us. Then somebody else comes on to the team and they're fantastic and they do a great job. So, things are back up again. And then one of your main clients, the marketing manager, she resigns. And then somebody new comes in, and you're trying to save the account. So every day is different. Every day is, and then COVID, for an example, I mean, that's something that affected everybody, that, entrepreneurs, you never know what's going to come your way. You have to be fully prepared, but you learn as you go. And no matter what challenge, approaches, you get stronger and you get wiser as you go through it.
And you mentioned COVID, and I know that is front and foremost in everybody's mind today, and the changes that it has wrought in almost every aspect of our lives. How did you manage and cope with the COVID situation? Like, how did you pivot?
Oh, that's a great question. So, COVID, when South by Southwest was just around the corner, when it was announced that it was canceled. So I was blown away. I really didn't see that. I didn't know where I don't think anybody really could predict what this was going to be. But I would say I was very discouraged at first. I thought, we are an industry that thrives off of events, trade shows, new hires. So where does this leave us at this time? So I'll say, like, to be completely honest with you, for about a week or two, I was just like really feeling like kind of like this lull, and we're just gonna have to wait this out. And that really didn't last very long before I woke up and I thought to myself, this is not the time to go dark on our clients. So while I can't fly to New York, which is one of our main territories, Florida, I can't even travel all around Texas like I typically do. We have this pool of clients and they're amazing and they've supported us for years. So for me, I said, we're going to shift our focus on new sales and, business development or sales and marketing. We're going to show up for our clients. We're going to show them that this is not the time to go dark on our clients, not the time for them to go dark on their clients. So I actually was visiting my parents because I drive to Florida in the beginning of the year. So they were stuck with me for a while. I was upstairs. I know well, we'll save that story, but I was upstairs in the office. I wrote over 400 handwritten note cards. I sent everybody hand sanitizer. We made gift bags that said kindness matters. We did vitamin C and we had hand sanitizers. And not only did we send them to our clients to let them know we're thinking about you, we're here. We also gave them out just to random, if we were in the, had to run to the grocery store, we'd give out a bag just to step up to the plate and not stand back. So that was the first thing. And then
very thoughtful, very thoughtful.
It was, I really enjoyed it. It was very grounding, gave me an opportunity to really connect with everyone. Sometimes I feel like my life is so go, go, go. So it really felt nice just to connect, ground myself, look at all the clients that we have and be there for them. But we did have to change the way we did things, moved forward. And rather than, since we were not in front of all of our clients, we did decide we were going to, handwritten note cards, send a little something, communicate with them. And it proven to be very valuable. In fact, I'm in Leadership Women, class of 2020. And although we're not able to meet right now, we are very much connected. They're doing a fantastic job of keeping us connected. And when y'all had reached out to them and asked, does somebody stand out as a trailblazer? They had connected y'all to me. So you can never underestimate those little things that you're doing. They do go a long way.
And I'm so glad they recommended you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I know it's been wonderful to meet all of y'all and, even just through our calls on Zoom. So I'm really honored too. Thank you.
Absolutely. So in your view, and this is one of the transformations as you described, based on the situation out there, have there been other transformations that you've brought during your career? Did these transformations coincide with some of the inflection points as you think about them?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the main things you'll see in my timeline was that I had started my business, my first baby, and I still operate under Ali Specialties in my market there in Florida. I could not be where I am today without the support of my community and the roots that I've gained, from where I grew up. I made a decision, 5 years in, to make a big move, a big change in my life. And I moved to Austin. And, I had always felt like I just needed to learn more about myself. I needed to grow. I needed to, really step away from every level of comfort that I had and just really, truly dig deep and find out who I am. So I really set out on this journey more so as like a personal change. And that is the one thing, I mean, that has been a pivotal moment in my life. I mean, it's been, yes, it's been very impactful for me to do that. I learned a lot about myself moving to a city where I did not know anyone, and what do I like and who am I, and how do I do this in a brand new place where I don't know anybody, and just starting over was so humbling. So ATX Promos was born, and I can't, both of them are just so life defining for me.
And that's fantastic. I mean, stepping out of your comfort zone is usually so important, right? There's no growth in your comfort zone.
Yes.
You have to step out to grow.
Yes.
That's fantastic. And as you blaze this trail, we consider you a trailblazer. How did you get people to rally behind you?
That's funny. It's funny. As a leader, I don't think I ever set out to think, how do I get people to follow me? I truly feel that like attracts like. Good energy attracts good energy. I know even in my own case, like when I'm following people or when I want to, I admire people, it's typically because they have so much passion. They're authentic. They're leaders. They're risk takers. So I don't really necessarily feel like it's ever a goal of mine to have, followers, but I do hope that people are inspired by my journey. I hope they do know that if I could do it, anybody could do it, because I do have a lot of fears, and I constantly have to challenge myself to do things that scare me. But I truly think it's just passion, and people could spot when you're not authentic. They know, they feel it. So I think it's very important to stay true to you. And then people will join along.
It's funny that you mentioned fears, because we all have fears, and we're usually our own hardest critics, right? And so how have you ever felt inauthentic sometimes? Have you ever felt that, oh my goodness, I'm not meant to do this. This is not my thing?
Yes, I have. And there are still times where I feel that way, where I have to, I feel as if I regularly give myself a pep talk. And I can give you 2 examples on that. When in 2012 or 2013, I had been on the board of counselors for a few years, and I was elected the chair. And I was so honored. I worked really hard. It just so happened that they had a golf tournament when I had joined the board, and I worked at a PGA resort. So I was able to secure a contract for our golf tournament at a great price, and we blew it out of the water. And I really wanted to make my mentor proud, so I worked very hard. I was elected as the chair, and I struggled with public speaking. I thought to myself, I'm ready for this. I have a fantastic committee, but the thought of public speaking makes me very nervous, and I don't really feel like I'm quite ready. Similar to what Daya said, like, you're always going to be afraid the first time you do anything. So I had said to one of the girls on the committee, I said, oh, I just get so nervous. And she said, well, I could speak. I could do the speaking part. And I said, no, I want them to see me sweat, not like physically sweat, but I want them to see that I'm nervous and that I'm, my cheeks get all red, because as I grow and as I get better, then they have something to aim for as well. Well, she wasn't the best public speaker, but she showed up. She showed up, she did her best, and now she has come such a long way. So if I said, I'm not a great public speaker and I'm not going to do it, I would still be in that same exact position today that I was that day that I was elected chair as the board. So I still give myself regular pep talks. And one other example was that I was at a networking event. This is when I was just getting started. And, sometimes you walk into a networking event for the first time, and it just appears like there's nothing but circles. So I awkwardly walked to the bar, and then I awkwardly walked everywhere to the bathroom, wherever I could go, just hoping somebody would jump out at me. And I thought, I'm not really ready for this. I should leave and just come back another time. And my pep talk was, you can leave, because nobody has to do anything that they're not comfortable with. You can leave, but don't leave until you introduce yourself to 2 people. Just walk up to them and say, hi, I'm new and this is my first time, or how long have you been a member of this? And put your hand out, shake your hand, and then you have permission to leave. These are the conversations that go on in my own head. So I did that. And the moral of that story is I did not leave after 2 handshakes. I ended up being one of the last people to leave. And it's just, again, about facing those fears head on. Stop, slow down, give yourself that pep talk, and just aim for something small. You don't need to, talk to everybody in the room, just one person. It really is quality over quantity, and just make that effort. That's really helped me along the way. And there are still times I'll walk in, and even Leadership Texas, I'm like, I have to pinch myself. These women are incredible. How did I get here? And you just have to, pep talk and push through it.
Yeah, because if you're there, you belong there, right?
That's right. That is right.
Those are such great examples of stepping out of the comfort zone. Like I said, there's no growth in your comfort zone, right? And so giving yourselves those little bitty goals when you're outside of your comfort zone, keep your eye on that, achieve that goal, then you can think of the next step. And it helps ground you a lot of times. Such great examples. So as a business leader, you work with a team of people. What distinction do you see between your role as a leader and your management team?
What distinction do I see? Well, we all joke around. We are all masters of our own roles. So there are times where I try to get involved in my senior account manager. If there is a logo on the screen, she can look at it and say, the Pantone color is not fully matched. Or this line is slightly thicker. She has an eye like you would not believe. So she is the master of her role. Same thing with the bookkeepers. Which actually I'd like to share for future aspiring entrepreneurs about my bookkeepers, because I think it could be helpful information for them. My strength is the sales and marketing. I love meeting with the clients. I love finding out what events they have, what trade shows, what products they need, and also just how to utilize them for the best return on investment, the most impressions. So, there are times where if I'm getting too involved in the account managing, I'm like, and I make a mistake here or there, I'm like, oh my gosh, I would fire myself as an account manager. So I'm just going to step aside and do what I'm good at, let them do what they're good at. And that seems to work the best. There's a little bit of, the really good account managers, they're getting referrals and they are bringing in clients as well. So we will have a little bit of crossover, but I'd say we focus on what we're truly good at, and that's the most beneficial for the business.
And that's cool, because you need to recognize what your own strengths are, right? A lot of us don't take that minute to think about, well, what are my strengths? What are the areas I want to improve, right? And the areas of improvement are where you step out of your comfort zone and you grow those areas. But because you also recognize your strengths, you know where you can succeed.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And you hear stories about that where maybe a child is not excelling in school, but you put them in a sport or something, and they're excelling. So we really it's just so much about finding what your strengths are and focusing on that.
Yes, and I think even more important, the ability to recognize other people's strengths, because if you can find people with complementary strengths to yourself, that then makes an awesome team.
Yes, it does. It really does. I agree.
So how do you transition and inspire your managers to become leaders?
Yes, that's a great question. So I had an account manager. She was with me forever, 8 years, and she was fantastic. When I hired her, she interviewed with 12 other people. And she was just authentic, and she was passionate, and I just knew. I was like, this is it. She's on our team. She was a fantastic account manager. And trying to mentor in a way that I have been mentored, I said, I really think you should think about one of the leadership programs. And she said, oh, I'm not a salesperson. I'm not a salesperson. And I thought to myself, if you're passionate, if you're authentic, if you're kind, if you're likable, that's to me a salesperson. That's somebody I want to buy from. That's somebody I want to work with. I don't want anybody that's very pushy and you need to buy from us, and that's not my style. For sure that was not hers. I encouraged her, and I wrote the letter of recommendation and encouraged her to join this leadership program because I wanted to see her evolve and I wanted to see her recognize strengths in her that she did not know were there. So I did, and I think, it was very successful. She ended up joining the board, getting on the committee, one of the committees, and I hopefully that is just the beginning of many, new opportunities for her as well. So
Fantastic.
yeah.
And then, you've been a first line salesperson before, and many companies, they tend to focus their training on how to create the best salesperson. But the skill set that you need to sell might be slightly different from the skill set that you need to actually manage a team and to work with a team. And so, how do you get your successful frontline salespeople to become managers, to take that next step up?
Yeah, that's a great question. I agree with you that a lot of times entrepreneurs or CEOs of companies are not very good managers. So that is definitely an area, or it's not one of their main strengths, right? I think it's about first and foremost finding the right people. If you have the right people on your team, it's going to make leading a lot easier. If you have self-motivators, people who work hard, enthusiastic, and my favorite thing when I hire, attitude. It's just everything. Anybody could be taught to do anything, but attitude is everything, in my opinion. So that is, I'm trying to think, one thing that's really been pivotal for me is that I read Brene Brown's book, Dare to Lead. And it became apparent that one of the things that were hindering me from being a great manager was that I was leading out of fear versus leading out of love. And it's funny, I never really quite understood that until I read her book, and it was like fireworks went off. If you're leading a team in fear, it's like bricks on your feet as you jump into the lake. It's just bringing you down, 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 down. So if you could shift your mindset, and this takes time, it really does. It takes time. It's effort, practice every day. When you lead in love, I think you go a lot further. I think it brings more positive energy to the room. And I think everybody's more successful that way.
And it seems like reading that book was one of your big inflection points, right? It changed your mindset.
It was, yeah. There have been a few books that have really changed my, that have helped contribute to my growth and leadership. So I do like to read pretty often.
Oh, cool. Before we go on to our next question, I also want to remind the audience that you do also have the ability to ask questions. If you go to the Q&A link at the bottom of your screen, you can ask questions that we will then put to Ali also. So I just wanted to take a second to remind everybody of that.
Yes.
Ali, you are a woman leader, and you've obviously worked with many other women leaders, right? What do you see as unique about women's leadership style as compared with men?
What do I think about women's leadership? I don't like to put compartments or labels. It's interesting. I know men who are very strong and strict and leaders, but I also know women who lead like that as well. They're very, everybody gets a little nervous when they enter the room, and then I feel as if, both men and women could also be compassionate, or maybe everybody has their own leadership styles. So I think it depends on the individual, personally, in my opinion. And I know if I thought a little bit more on the question, I might find other ways, but I think that men are more likely to seize every opportunity that they have and ask and ask and ask and be like a little bit more forceful for like the things that they want. So I would tell students, anybody that I was mentoring, like, you have to ask. First and foremost, you have to ask. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. That's a quote, and I don't know who said that.
I always say, if you don't ask, the answer is no. So
right, exactly. So and you have to seize every opportunity. You have to try. You have to take risk. But I see women as doing a lot of that too. So I really think it depends on the individual.
So if you were asked to describe your leadership style, how would you describe it?
Oh, my leadership style. I love what I do. I'm so passionate about what I do. I think it shows, I went and traveled out west this past summer, and whenever I'm selling to my clients, I'm truly incorporating things that I use every single day. So I went out west, and every photo, I even have like a few photos close by that this little bandana that could be around your neck, over your face, your headband. I wore it every day. We did this for a comedian, Heather Land, and it's a little leopard bandana. I wore it. I'm passionate about it. So I would say I lead with my clients or with my team with passion. I'm also, I'm so fortunate that everybody works so hard, and I don't want to say everything's always perfect, but it's really great. I mean, I don't like to like micromanage people very much. They get the job done. So if somebody has to go pick up their child or go to a doctor's appointment, it's not like I'm like clock in, clock out. It's very like, as long as our numbers are increasing, our team is passionate, everybody has a good attitude. I like to let everybody do their role and do it well. I don't really like to micromanage too much.
Well, I love that. Lead with passion, create a great team, and then trust them to do their job, right?
Absolutely. It really works. I mean, everybody has their own leadership style. Some people would say, would recommend, but that's what works for me. That works for me.
I love it. I totally love it. You seem like you have some of your products with you. I'd love to see some.
Yeah, I do. So I was thinking about, products, and funny enough, right before I got the email, before y'all had emailed me, I just did a big clean out of, I sent some samples to clients and said, I don't know if you wanted to have these, because like the sample room was getting out of control. But I did pull a few things that we gathered, some items that we've done. Of course, I showed you the hand sanitizers and the little gift bags. We had an opportunity to do some work for Spotify, and, depending on what your budget is, right? So we always want you to, we always encourage people to go with items that are going to be mostly used, that I think every day, like, what do I use? I don't go anywhere without my tumbler, because I drink my iced coffee every morning. I have my reusable straw. We did these for Spotify, actually. Water bottles. I think I wear my fanny pack every morning when I walk my dog. Actually, I'll show you that. We did these. It has my dog's bags. We did these for ACL, for Lyft. They did fanny packs 2 years ago, I think, or 3 years ago. Every single picture out west, when I went to go travel to Montana, I have this clear fanny pack on, everyone. I'm like, so I try to always tell my clients, think about what people are using every day. I stand behind the products that I sell. I really like to encourage people. But with that being said, we work with all different budgets. So I like to be put up, have a challenge in front of me. And we were working with, here's an example. Texas Casa, they were doing a holiday card where they wanted to just say happy holidays and have everybody's signature. But how do you drive the message home about children, how every child, and under a $3 budget, right? Because we don't, they're planning on doing a postcard. How do you drive home the message that every child deserves a roof over their that every child deserves education, an opportunity to succeed? How do we just drive the message home a little further? So for them, we did a little hot cocoa on the other side of the postcard, and it says, every child deserves a warm cup of cocoa.
Oh,
and it's just,
awesome.
yeah, it was, I really loved it. It was, we had to be very mindful of the budget, but how often do we sip on a drink or water? We have our, comfortable bed to sleep on, where when you open up that hot cocoa and you drink it, you have a deeper message there. Every child deserves this. And that really needs to be reminded. We need to drive the message home. And, we have to do it. Sometimes, we have clients who have unlimited budgets. Sometimes we have to drive a message home just for a couple dollars. And no matter what, we're always up for the challenge to make sure that we're delivering that message. So I really loved this. I thought it was just such a great way to really show the importance of the message. Another one was when we were working, we are not the main provider for Spotify, but we do help them with some of their products. And they were having an event and they wanted their QR code to be on the product so that the attendees could scan the QR code and download the playlist, which I think was so clever. Cause I'm like, how many times do you go to a party or you go somewhere to an event, you're like, I love this playlist. Like, I love the music. And I wish I want to like write down, I do that often in Austin when I go listen to music. I'm like, oh, I need to add this song to my playlist. So we did coasters that went on all the tables, but we did it on record label vinyl.
Oh, cool.
So kind of play off music theme, which was really a great hit. They also did Yetis. We produced Yeti, logoed Yetis for them as well, and branded straws. But really, the whole event was a hit. We felt really, honored to be able to work on the order for them. And as a team, we really like to spark our creativity and, step up to the challenge or whatever our clients are trying to, accomplish.
That is so, so what I'm getting from all of this is that creativity is basically the core of your business, right? Because doesn't matter what the budget is, a business should be able to get their message across. And you're obviously able to do that. I think my favorite one is the casa, the hot chocolate. That really touched me. That was so fantastic.
Yeah, they did a fantastic job. They're so wonderful to work with. It's such a good organization. If we could do anything to help them drive messages, then we're up for that challenge for any of our clients. There's, we got, so.
Awesome. So, a lot of times, what I've heard a lot of women say is that sales is not, no, that's not for women. Sales is not for women, right? And so there's this hesitancy a lot of times that I see in women entering the sales field. So I wanted to ask your take on it. Why is sales a great career for women?
Oh, I think any position where we are putting women at the forefront of industries, of businesses, of boardrooms, we're benefiting. The more diversity we have in any industry that any woman wants to be a part of, I think it's beneficial to all of us, everyone. So I strongly encourage for women to step up into sales positions, marketing. I mean, if a woman wants to be a rocket scientist, I think we need more women leadership. It's the most beneficial for our society. I mean, I think yes, absolutely. I think women should step into sales positions. And if, there's something we don't cover and anybody wants to reach out to me with other questions, they could feel free to email me or connect on LinkedIn. But I absolutely would love to see more women in sales roles. And in my industry alone, I looked at our Power 50 list and there were no women on the list. I mean, I'll have to go back and count, but I'm like, I hope we could be the first women-owned business to make this. There may have been a few. I'll have to go back and really fact check that, but there weren't very many. A win for one of us is a win for all of us. And I think as we grow, as we, go further in our careers, make sure you look behind you and bring a few other women with you along the way. I know I would not be where I am today without the women in my life, the mentors in my life, the people who have believed in me.
And I'm going to get you to talk to my 6- and 4-year-old daughters because that was so awesome. Women can do everything.
I would love to. Yeah, bring them fun. I'll bring them fun products.
Oh, they would love that. And so finally, you've kind of touched on this a little bit along the way, but if you had to sum up, what advice would you give other women as they embark on their own unique leadership journey?
Okay, so I have a few things, maybe like one or two things I would say. First and foremost, start. I think I hear a lot of people speak and they're like, I want to start a business. I really want to do this, but I'm not ready. Similar to me when I was making that cold call. No matter how much you prepare, life is going to throw you curveballs. So I think a lot of it is just starting to begin. When you begin and you're starting to grow and you're starting to get noticed and you're on top of the world, stay very humble. Don't let it get to your head because it won't last. When things are not going well and you're having a challenging time, stay very strong because that won't last either. It's peaks and valleys and peaks and valleys. So, I'm very honored to receive awards, but what I care more about is the authentic relationships that I've forged within communities and that I formed with clients. So while I do feel like awards are important, they're resume builders, they get you noticed, be authentic, and really just stay true to yourself, take risks. And actually, I have one more thing. You have to do what's right for you. You cannot live anybody else's life. I mean, I last year, a few years ago, I went to Alcatraz. I went to a friend's wedding in San Francisco, and a few friends, we went to Alcatraz, and we took a tour. And this man was so passionate about Alcatraz that I was like, then what happened? Who was in that cell? I mean, he was so passionate that you just could not help but to be really enthusiastic about all this history that we were learning. And afterwards I stopped and we talked to him and I said, you're so passionate that I want to learn more about this. I'm so intrigued. And he said he had gone to college to be an engineer and he had a great job out of college and he was so unhappy. So he told his parents, he said, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to take an entry-level job at Alcatraz. And they were like, what? We paid for your college, got this great job. What do you mean you're going to take an entry-level position at Alcatraz? Well, it turns out he stayed true to himself. He's on this path and he is going on to publish his first book. He has a documentary that he was in the process of making. And most of all, he was happy. So, as I think about these stories and the pressures that we feel, you got to do what's best for you and what makes you happy, what you're passionate about.
Yes, that's very, very important. Now I'm definitely getting you to speak to my daughters. I'm trying to tell them.
I'd love to.
My 6-year-old nods, but the 4-year-old looks at me like, I'm not sure what you're talking about. I'm going to go play now.
How old are they? They're
6 and 4, yes.
4. Okay, yes. Oh, that's so sweet. Yes, I'd love to talk with them.
But that was some really, really good advice. Thank you so much. And thank you for this insightful conversation. You've given us all a lot to think about. And we really appreciate that you took the time to engage with us like this. And while we've been conversing, my colleague Alejandra has been monitoring some really good questions that have come in from the audience. And I think it's time that we take them. Alejandra, are you ready?
Great. Thank you, Verisan, and thank you, Ali. It has been a very rewarding morning. And yes, we do have some questions posted by our audience, which, by the way, we have 76 attendees.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Great. Yes, thank you so much for being with us. So I think a good question could be Tara's question. Tara Whitehead, she wants to know 3 qualities you believe make a great sales leader. 3
qualities that make a great sales leader. First and foremost, I think passion. If you're not passionate about what you're selling, it's going to be very, very hard to close the deal. I know that from experience. You have to find your passion with what you could, really stand behind. The second thing I would say would be authenticity. I think we have a lot of, networkers that just run around and throw cards and they want to, they have a one-track mind, but when you're truly authentic, people can see that. So I think stay very true to yourself. Even in my business, I tend to really get along with people, but I've encountered a few clients here or there where I didn't really feel like it was a great fit, that, we may have just been too different or whatever the situation is. So I think, but I don't try to change or who I am so that they like me more. I just accept that for what that is and stay very authentic and true to myself. Mm-hmm. The third thing to be a success, you have to have drive. Especially in entrepreneurship. My dog's jumping on my couch. Especially if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to be a self-motivator. Nobody's going to tell you, hey, you have to go on this appointment, you have to go on this appointment. So you really have to have that ambition to want to succeed and do well. And I know you said 3, but also,
I know, but go ahead.
you have to focus on resilience. You know, don't get discouraged. I could go on and on about stories where I've really made a lot of mistakes or things that, you know, I wish I would have done differently. But you know what? You just learn and you grow. You learn and you grow, but don't quit no matter what. Just hang in there.
Awesome, great. So I think there is some curiosity about how you manage your balance, or how do you now have a work, but at the same time life. What are habits that you do? What do you manage? How do you manage those two?
My work life and personal life balance. Yes. Okay. So that ultimately really led me to my journey when I moved to Texas. When I was in the Tampa Bay area, I felt like, I don't know if I felt like I had something to prove. You know, I was working just so hard. And if your personal life and your work life are not in balance, it's going to have effect on your work. So if you see in my biography that I included how much I love the outdoors, my dog, horseback riding, I take horseback riding lessons, jumping, hunter jumper lessons 2 to 3 times a week. That is equally as important to me as my work. If there are no outlets for me to, you know, to spark my creativity, to do the things that I love, it directly affects my work. And this is something that took a lot of time for me, but I do things for myself now guilt-free. And I did not do that before. I mean, this past summer, I went out to Montana. Going to Montana has been a dream of mine going out west has been a dream of mine for 11 years. And I took my work on the road, but I gave myself that permission to go guilt-free. You have to take care of yourself. And I think, you know, as men and women, I think women are less likely to do things to take care of themselves. And if they do, I do find that they feel guilty for it. So put yourself first. Do what makes you happy. If it's a hobby, if it's a vacation, if you need to unplug for an hour and just, like, you know, get outdoors in nature, I think it's so important to have a life outside of work.
So I guess following up on that, I guess that's my question. How do you define success? What is success for you?
That's funny. I just had a conversation a few days ago with somebody about this. I defined success. I personally feel if I wake up every morning and I go to bed every night and I look in the mirror and I like the person that I am, I'm a good person. I help others. I'm living my truth. I'm living my passion. To me, that defines success. I don't think this success could be measured by sales. I don't think it could be measured by money. I don't think it could be measured by how, you know, any of those things. Yes, they're very important, but overall quality of life, gratitude for me. I grabbed this because I wanted to tell everybody. I have been writing, this is the 5-minute journal. And I have been writing in this book since 2017. Before,
you have a blog, right? That's interesting. You like to write.
Yeah, I love to write. I love to write. Every morning, before I even look at my phone, I write the 3 things I'm grateful for, what would make today great, and what I am. That's what it says. So there, you can kind of take a look, or you can look. It asks you some questions.
Oh.
So I write in this book because I really like to focus on, we could get so caught up in what I don't have or what I need to achieve. But this has really helped me to look at the present day on how much I have to be grateful for. And I strongly encourage, it doesn't have to be this book. I don't work with them or anything. I just love this one. But focusing on what you have, your gratitude, it really helps to just to keep your energy very strong and attract more things in your life by being grateful. So
talking about books, Luis Sanchez, I think he was curious with the book that you mentioned. He's asking for other books that you can recommend. I don't know if you have them on top of your mind, books that you can recommend.
Oh, books that I recommend. I love Brene Brown. I think she's fantastic. I've learned a lot from her about vulnerability. I was raised, to think that any vulnerability was a sign of weakness, in some, no, I shouldn't put that on everybody, but, I think it was just a time where it's like, you have to be very stoic and strong. And Brene Brown has really taught me that telling your stories, your truths, your vulnerability, that's strength. That really is. And she's really, really helped me. I'm reading a book by Jen Hatmaker right now, Fierce. I'm enjoying it. Gosh, I have so many right here. I have so many business books that I love to read. Here's another one that I picked up, actually. It's called Women Entrepreneurs, We Are Brave. And I actually, my business coach that I work with, she has written her story in this book. So just the beginning of the week, I picked this up, and it's their personal stories, and they are so inspiring. And I think when we break barriers and we share our true stories with people, we give other people the courage and the permission to then go ahead and share stories. I think it's very important that we share stories, and everybody has had their hurdles and their obstacles. And I think we connect more as people when we're truthful and when we actually share them. That's something I've really had to learn throughout my life.
So talking about books, Ali, I'm a professor, right? So we are training people. How do you see the difference between training and what happens out there in the field? You study, right, marketing, and you had a training in marketing, but so how do you see that? Is that any disconnection or hopefully not, but how do you see that training in the classroom and then going outside and do it on your own?
Yes. Oh gosh, that's such a great question. And I personally feel, okay, so education is very important. It's very important. And I think it gives us, internally what we need to then get out in the world. In my opinion, there is no education like life experiences. I call it the school of the hard knocks. Like, you get out into the world, and without my education, or without, everybody's education, it's very hard to, have the skills to apply. So I think it helps to have that foundation being built, but where you doing action is really, really where you're able to apply and learn and evolve as far as, I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
I think I lost you. Okay.
No, I got it. Yes. Okay. Action.
Oh, my internet's unstable. Okay.
We got it, right? Great, awesome. Yes, right. We are in the classroom, how to bring those, and that I guess part of these webinars, right? Bringing real life stories, right? That we could all learn. We do have more time for questions. So if you remember, put it in the Q&A. Atul, do you want to ask anything in particular? You are muted.
Sorry, I was on mute. No, I think these are exciting questions. I would certainly like to ask one important question, and that is, if you have to advise the students who are considering the career in sales, you have already discussed why sales career is a great career. But how do people graduate from early on in their sales career to becoming business leader? So what are the things that they need to do, and what would make them successful to become a top business leader coming in from the route of sales?
That's a great question. I think that, I think it's important for students to have an idea. Things are going to shift, right? So before you really find your niche, like where you want to be. But I think what you have to do is put all your energy into getting the job that you want, or just taking that action. So if students are graduating from college and they know they want to be in sales, go for it. Apply to the companies you want to apply for. Do something that makes you stand out. So, I mean, I do this all day long. I'm helping clients stand out. So if any student wants to reach out to me and say, I want to apply for this job, I really want to stand out. I think it's a good idea to brainstorm a way where you're separating yourself from, just the traditional resumes. How can you go above and beyond to get noticed, first and foremost? When you're in the door, absorb everything that you can. I mean, learn as much as you can and really apply yourself. You may find that you've just nailed your industry right out of college. You're in the industry that you love. Maybe that opens up another door. So I was coordinating golf tournaments, golf outings. So I had Coca-Cola and I had Mitchell and Best and Scotia Bank. So maybe that wasn't the industry I was going to stay in, but it sure did help when I transitioned to a sales and marketing position to have those relationships.
That's fascinating. So that begs two other questions, if I may ask. One is, you have had remarkable success within a decade of starting a business. Now, I'm sure many students are also wondering, how can they be successful like you, and perhaps in shorter time? So in 5 years from now, so what transformation, suppose, for example, tomorrow, if you had to make certain transformations in your own business to put it into a fast track, what do you think you would do? And how can those who are budding entrepreneurs or who are thinking about, okay, I'm going to get into sales and I'm also going to run a fast track, what can they do?
Okay, so if you want to go on the fast track to success, I'll share my tips on what I think you have to do to get there. But I also want to warn you to be very careful, be very mindful when you're on the fast track that you're also prioritizing your mental health, your happiness, because I found, that while you could be hitting all these milestones, if you're truly not happy at the end of the day, what does it really matter? So, but the fast track, I would say, first and foremost, you have to be passionate about what you're doing. We already discussed that. You have to forge relationships. So whether you have to align yourself with organizations that are aligned with your values, right? So I'm not going to go join something that I'm not really passionate about, but I happen to love the leadership organizations that I've gotten involved with. You have to position yourself to forge relationships. Everything that you are going to obtain, everything that you're going to do in your life is going to be as a direct result to the relationships that you forge in your career. So that is hands down. I also do think you should be strong at cold calling and telemarketing. I think that's equally important. I've gotten a lot of clients that way. So I'm not completely against that. I think it's kind of nice sometimes just to send emails, do something that's going to set yourself apart. When I send a cold call email to somebody, I have this beautiful attachment that says what our clients say, and it's all testimonials. So I'm not just emailing, Bright House or Match.com or any of these businesses and saying like, I want to work with you. I'm also saying, see the attached, here are what some of our clients have to say. So they're basically selling us as well. So take an extra step, get creative. Don't just send a generic email and think anybody's going to apply, respond to you. It's going to take a lot of sacrifice as well. And I personally feel like I sacrificed a lot. I worked a lot. I started to find that I was getting on more and more things that I was passionate about. So I was, nonprofits, more organizations, more leadership groups. I really scaled that down when I had moved to Texas because I felt as if I was being recruited for different boards and different things that I was passionate about. But there's only so much you can give before you start to feel like it's losing the quality. So when I moved to Texas, I was very mindful that while I could align myself with causes that I'm passionate about, there's only a certain amount I could give at once. So I only join certain things at a time. I am on the Austin Young Chambers Committee. I'm actually the new chair of the Leadership Services Committee, and we organize a volunteer opportunity once a month. So something like that really gives me an opportunity to highlight a nonprofit, recruit a gathering of people to contribute to the nonprofit so I could show my passion, but it doesn't make me the board of all these, on the boards for all these nonprofits. So if you want to go on the fast track for success, I would say to make sure first and foremost, you're very passionate about what you're doing, and you have to do everything to forge good relationships within your community. Number 3, always make sure that you're giving back and helping others while you're doing that. I think that's very important as well. That's how I think you accomplish the fast track.
Oh, great.
Those are very useful points, Ali. And as you're saying, relationships are critical, both with your customers as well as with a range of people in the community. Women are nurturing, and therefore nurturing capabilities are very important. But let me ask you a little slightly different question over here. And that is, increasingly as we see women both as in the leadership as in the sales organization, but there are women also leaders in the buying organization. And as in the buying organization, when women are there, is there a certain way in which, in your observation, women who are buying leaders, they expect from other people, or do you see it is one and the same?
So in my industry, as far as my clients go, I personally feel like I'm selling to 80%, I would say majority women. I'm dealing with, not all, I mean, I would say more so women than men are my clients. You know what I really find more so than as far as personality traits, I see different personality traits in the different territories that I'm in. So, for example, my clients in New York or industries, the tech industry, it's like this. Hey, just want to make sure you got the email. I was thinking like, you just sent it 5 minutes ago, they're very like fast paced. And I don't know if that's the tech industry or if that's New York City, what it is. But I do find different personality traits. The women that I work with are fantastic. When I go to meetings with and we're collaborating, I equally get my creativity from them just as much as I give creative ideas to them, which really creates this, great wealth of information. I'm able to take things that we've done in New York, and as we're talking in our meetings, we're coming up, it's like we're feeding off of each other. Oh, we should do this instead of that. Oh, that was a great idea. This is what we did for this client. We could spin it this way for this client. We feed off of each other. I think it just I think that's why I love the business development side and the sales side. I mean, you just get so creative, and all this wealth of knowledge that's being shared is just such a benefit to all of our clients. Moving to Texas and working with, the city of Visit Austin and, these different South by Southwest and ACL has sparked my creativity. Just by moving territories has sparked my creativity that I'm then able to bring to my clients in Tampa, in New York, in California. So it's very interesting to work with these bright men and women, and how creative and just how much that can grow.
I think that's perfect for a question on creativity. We have one question on creativity, and I guess the process between deliberate creativity and intuitive creativity. How does it work for you?
Yeah.
Deliberate creativity and intuitive creativity.
Oh, that's a good question. I would say, how does that work? So when there are times where I go into a meeting and I don't know what's going to be discussed. So, there are times where it's intuitive. I'm just like, and I'm always very honest. I just spoke with a client yesterday and I said, they're like, we were thinking about doing this. And I'm like, I think this item will have it'll drive the message home. And I'll always be very honest. There are times where I've been in a meeting and something was discussed and I thought I don't know. So in a situation like that, where it's not intuitive and it's not just I'm not going to just make anything up. So I'll just ask a lot of questions. At this point, I want to gather more information. What's your goal? Is there a way that we could take this product and say, if you at this event, if you post it and hashtag, then at the end you get to pick up your drinkware. So now we could use further impressions like, oh, we really want that cup. We're going to post on Instagram. So now they're getting all those impressions on social media. If it's not coming to me naturally, I will ask a lot of questions. And then I will tell the client that I will get back to them within 24 hours with my ideas, because I don't want to just throw anything at them. I really want to be very mindful. Sorry, I took that off. I want to be very mindful that, there's quality behind my suggestions. I don't want to just throw it at them.
And it goes back to authenticity, right?
Yeah. I wear my heart on my sleeve, so I couldn't just like go and like fake it in the meeting. I would really have to say, I have to give this some thought and I'll get back to you. Yes, I agree. That is a part of being authentic. And I think clients really, it goes a long way. I think they could see that.
I guess there is one question about lessons. So yeah, so you can reflect on lessons that you have learned. Of course, that our young audience here wants to hear you kind of, reflecting on what you have learned in the past years of your career. What could be those key lessons? I guess connecting a little bit with the advice that you already give, but lessons that you have learned and they could also learn from you.
Okay, some lessons that come to mind. First, I think it's very important to recognize what you have and not get too distracted of what else you need. When I find like we're growing and I'm not seeing clients as much or giving them the attention, then I have to strategize to make sure everybody feels the love. And that might be in a campaign. So we're going to send, for Valentine's Day, we sent everybody gummy bears and a little note that said, "You're the heart of our business." Because I want to make sure, first and foremost, I am showing gratitude to the book of clients that we already have. That's the most important thing. Other lessons. I've learned to reinvent myself along the way as well. I like to, there are times where right now I'm on a social media cleanse, so I'm not posting on social media, but there are times where you have to step back and think, what lessons you have that you want to now apply moving forward, and it takes some thought. And I think it's okay sometimes to take a step back and slow down a little bit. Trying to think of some other good lessons. Don't quote in meetings. That's a good lesson. There are times where when people will say, "Oh, how much is it for me to do this?" And I'm like, we have SKUs, and we have over 200, we have hundreds of thousands of products. So I learned in meetings to always say, I will email you an estimate with the pricing, because there's so many products and it's based on quantities. And sometimes, you don't want to like shout out too much in meetings. You want to like follow up with an email on that stuff. Those are just a few. I know there are tons of lessons that I've learned along the way. So if any other ones pop in my mind, I'll be sure to tell you.
Great, Tara, thank you so much. And thank you everybody now for the questions. I think this has been great. I think our time is getting to an end. So thank you once again, Ali, for all this wisdom, that you have brought us to this is our first webinar in the Sales Women, series. I have to thank Atul as well for making this possible. And of course, let me bring Julie Doss to our virtual stage. Julie Doss is one of the key persons behind. She's our Director of Engagement and External Relationships. Julie, take it away.
Well, thank you. On behalf of the Rawls College of Business and the Center for Sales and Customer Relationship Excellence, we want to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. We want to thank Dean Margaret Williams, Atul Paratiar, Matthew Winfrey. A big thank you to Ali Carr, a fellow Leadership Women's sister, and both of our moderators for all of your excellent insight. We hope all of you will join us for our future presentations. Have a great weekend and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.